Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, and Pete Rose. Common names you think of when you hear Cincinnati Reds. But when you hear the voice of the Reds, you think Marty Brennaman. He's been a radio announcer for 39 years, and with his long-standing career with the Cincinnati Reds radio network, baseball fanatics turn to him to report the American pastime.
Well, they don't have any choices than anybody else. If they're not going to listen to me, then they're not going to listen to Reds baseball. They can watch it on television, but I tell the TV guys all the time, they can turn the sound down. They can say the most profane word there is, and nobody's going to hear it because they're not listening to them. I'm kidding when I say that. It's nice. I mean, this franchise is a regional franchise as opposed to the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cubs or all the rest of the teams from so-called big market cities. They can draw, you know, 2 or 2.5 or 3 million people based on the population of the greater LA area or the greater New York area. In our case, in order for us to be successful, we have to draw fans from the states that you mentioned. We have to draw people from West Virginia and Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio and even as far away as Tennessee and Virginia. And so to know that every night when we go on the air, we broadcast to a network of 80 to 90 plus radio stations all over the place is very important. And it's a responsibility that I don't think we as broadcasters ever lose sight of. It's, you know, there have been 2 generations of people, I think, that have listened to me over the years broadcast Reds baseball. And it's really kind of neat because I'm in a business that is very transient. There's always people, in fact, more often than not, and I'm not included in this group, who think the grass is always greener. So they stay in a location for however many years, and all of a sudden somebody comes and offers them what they think is a better deal, and then they move on. I've been fortunate in that I've resisted all the opportunities that I've had to leave here. And as a result, I'm in my 39th year and in the 2nd year of a contract that will put me through 40 next year. And I'll sign another deal after that. And then after that, I don't know what I'll do. But I'll end up, if my health maintains the level that it's at right now and I have no health issues, I'll be the longest running radio broadcaster they've ever had here. And that means a lot to me. I talk to people who are my age. I'll be 70 in July. And I talk to young kids, you know, that listen. I have people that come up and say, you know, you're the only announcer that I've ever heard in all the years I've been around. You know, and this person's 37 years old. So it's kind of cool. It's been a labor of love for me, and I'm as proud of the fact that I've been in one place all these years, because you can count on one hand the number of guys that have been with only one team as a broadcaster. There are only a handful of them, and I'm one of those, and I'm proud of that. If I don't have anything else when the day comes, on my tombstone, I hope somebody puts his credibility was impeccable. I think it's important for me that when I say something, people believe it for its accuracy. I try to be as accurate as I can possibly be, and there have been times over the years where I've been critical of a player and then found out after the game that there was a reason for what might have been a subpar performance. We had a guy named George Foster who was a sensational player, was the most valuable player in the league back in 1977. And he had a bad night in New York one night. He dropped a fly ball and he misjudged a fly ball, and I was very critical of him. And I found out after the game that he was playing with a 102-degree temperature. And I went back on the air the next night and I apologized. One of my philosophies is the worst mistake you can make is to not correct one. And if I make a mistake and it's a significant mistake, and I'll apologize for it and correct it the next day or that night if I know about it more. But I want people to be able to listen, and listen because they know I'm going to be accurate in depicting a play throughout the course of the night. That's the most important thing to me.
Being a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame is a tremendous honor. And for young journalists, they have a long way to go, from internships to covering and reporting live stories. Even a seasoned professional such as Marty Brennaman had to climb the steps of the ladder to be reporting in the Reds booth.
Corinne, you bring up a very good point, because I talk to young guys. You know, they come up to me, college age, and they said, I'm going to graduate next year, and I'm going to take your job. And my response to them is, if you truly believe that, you better go find something else to do. For one thing, I ain't going anywhere. And secondly, you're not going to get to the big leagues as a broadcaster after 1 year out of college. you know, it's something that you have to work at. And I broke into the business in 1965 when I graduated from college, and I got to Cincinnati in 1974. So I was essentially working in the business 8 or 9 years before I got the opportunity to come to Cincinnati to broadcast Reds baseball. I had done 3 years of minor league baseball, AAA baseball in Norfolk, Virginia. And there are guys that get there quicker than that. My son got there quicker than that. But my son grew up in the business, so he understands that what he did is an aberration. That doesn't happen very often. He was a year removed from Ohio University when he was doing Reds television in 1989 with Johnny Bench. That doesn't happen. Now, was he talented enough to handle it? Very much so. He's a very talented guy. But you got to be willing to pay your dues. You can't have an unrealistic opinion or feeling that I'm going to be broadcasting Major League Baseball within 2 years, because rarely does it ever happen. And I think the guys who are successful are the fellows who get out of school and they find a job and they perfect their craft, and they're patient. They're not in a hurry to get there, because if you are, then you're going to become disillusioned after a while, and you're going to probably walk away from the business.
One of the most memorable moments in Marty Brennaman's life was when he received the call that he would be inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame.
The date in which the Ford Frick winner, which is what the broadcast guy is, I think it was like February the 1st or the 5th or something in 2000. And Rob Butcher, who was the Reds media relations director then and still is today, called me on the phone 2 days before the phone call was going to be placed to whoever it was. And he said, I just want to call and make sure you're going to be home when the call, if it's you. Well, I think, in retrospect, I think he knew it was me. And he wanted to make sure that when the call came, I was going to be home to take the call. And at 5 minutes after 11 on that day, my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I said, hello, and the voice at the other end said, Marty, and I said, yes. He said, this is Dale Petrosky, the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything else he said. My whole career flashed in front of me, because I know he wasn't calling me to find out how I was doing. And once I was able to compose myself, we had a nice chat, and then I started getting calls from everybody. Johnny Bench was one of the first ones to call me, and he gave me the best piece of advice. He said, this is before cell phones, you know, and he said, do you have a legal pad? I said, yes. He said, what you need to do is write down the name of everybody you hear from, whether it's a phone call or whether it's a postcard or a letter or whatever it is. Write down all the names, he said, because they are the people who really are thrilled along with you that you're going in, because they like you. He said, you're not going to hear from guys that don't like you and think you have no business being there. The people that call you and contact you, and he was right. And I wrote down all the names, and I still have them today. It was, you know, in my business, there's no higher calling than being in the broadcaster's wing of the Hall of Fame. And I've had people say to me, when you got into this business, when you came to Cincinnati in 1974, did you think about it? I said no, because when I came to Cincinnati, there was no such thing as a broadcaster's wing. It didn't come into existence, I think, until 1978 or 1979. So it was a thrill. It was something I would wish for everyone. My family was there. My mom, who has since passed on, my dad had passed on many years before that, but my mother was there, and it's a big deal. It really, truly is a big deal in one of the most idyllic little towns in the world. Cooperstown, New York looks like it was built last night. It's so clean and pristine, and the lawns are all well manicured, and the homes are beautiful. So it was really a thrill.
Being 39 years deep in the broadcasting world has proved successful for Marty Brennaman. Along the way, he's trademarked phrases that will forever be synonymous with him and the Cincinnati Reds. For everyone on the field and in the stands, I'm Corinne Hazen, MBC Sports.
And this one belongs to the Reds.